It's the 8th film in the MCU, and it was able to gross 616 million worldwide with 150 million budget. The film picks up after the first Avengers film, so you see Loki being tried by Asgard for his actions for trying to take over Earth, and Odin sentences him for eternity in Asgardian prison. Meanwhile, all the 9 realms are in war, apart from Earth, so when Thor enters Valheim, he goes in, tries to restore order, and sends back all the criminals from Valheim back to Asgard and put them in Asgardian prison. This is a film that further develops the Thor character. You see him more mature. He's not as rash as you usually see him. He's more thoughtful, now trying to learn things, such as the convergence. And you also see Thor spying on Jane from time to time. The film shows the first major death in the MCU. The reason I say it's the first major death in the MCU, because Agent Coulson did not stay dead. He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So scratch that off that list. But you see Frigga dying by the hands of Malekith's henchman called Curse, and this has ramifications during the course of the film, where you see Odin losing focus and Loki wanting revenge. After Frigga's death, you see her having a Viking's funeral. The film also develops the relationship of Jane and Thor. This relationship was kind of strained because Thor hasn't visited Jane since the first Thor film, and she saw him in the Avengers battling against the Chitauri. And the film also shows the actions of Loki, the consequences of Loki, and more further character development. And you get to understand Loki a bit more. And after Frigga's death, he wanted revenge for her death by assisting Thor to attack Malekith. About this film, I like the tone and feel of the film. It feels more Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, and this is because the director has a Game of Thrones background, and he draws his inspiration from that. So you see things more grand, more medieval times, more Norse in a kind of way, and I like this kind of film which had Asgard had more life to it, and the cinematography is much more brighter. They didn't hide any bad CGI in the film, and the world was more expansive and immersed. I also like the relationship between Thor and Odin. Odin this time is more weak and more vulnerable, especially when Frigga dies, and you see the powers of Thor and Odin. This time Thor is much more wiser and much more mature on how to handle things, and although Odin tries to do things out of grief and pride because he has so much hatred to the Dark Elves from the past. Also, no relationship I like is Thor and Loki, and this is because the chemistry between Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth is one particular scene that when Thor and Loki break out of Asgard, I think, and that's the best part of the film. You see how they bounce off each other, how they act as siblings, and especially when they're trying to go on the Dark Elf spaceship, which you see Loki just talking, and Thor being the older brother trying to give him some side jabs. And lastly, the best part of their relationship is when you see Loki and Thor having a talk between each other, and you see Thor wanting to trust Loki, but knowing Loki's true nature, you can't. And you see Loki that really sells you that Loki is not joking. He wants to destroy the people. He killed his mother. And speaking about his mother, Frigga's death was a really good solid point in the film. This is the first MCU death that actually means something. They tried to kill Thor, he came back again. They tried to kill Loki, he came back again. And spoilers, Loki dies again, but he comes back again. So Frigga's death has more meaning and ups the stakes, because when Frigga dies, Thor is the only person who can think clearly. Odin is in grief and he wants to take action, and Loki wants revenge. That's a good death scene, but it clearly shows the motivation of all the 3 main characters of the film. And another strength of this film is Loki's redemption arc, and this was also draws from Frigga's death. Loki is a character that if there's nothing for him, he won't do it. He's really a selfish character. Having that relationship in Frigga in the beginning of the film gives more of a connection between him and his mother. So when she dies, you see him having this rage that he'd never seen before. And when he helped Thor, he helped her because of Frigga, not because of Thor or Odin. The score was really good. I missed Patrick Doyle's score of the first Thor film, but this one was more epic and more grand. It reminds more of Game of Thrones, as I said before. The action of the film is far better than the first Thor film. You see more fighting, you see more Asgardian soldiers fighting, which is a plus, and you see more weapons being used, more hand-to-hand combat. One of the best scenes, I think, when Loki was fighting over Dark Elves by himself, destroying them with one dagger. And also you see Thor getting his ass kicked by one of the Dark Elves called the Cursed. The thing I dislike about this film was the comedy. The comedy was all over the place. At this time, you had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming up, so they're trying to merge the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comedy with this comedy. And at that point, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was really bad, so it came into Thor: The Dark World, and you had some random stuff. And Kat Dennings, she was a major annoyance of this film. Not as bad as the intern. I found him completely pointless. He was such a drag in the film. He was so random. Like, you ask him, like, why is he here, basically? And the fact the intern has an intern does not make sense. So it was best for him to be cut out from the film entirely. The plot was kind of all over the place. It showed us the ether, then you have the romance with Jane, then you have the dynamic of Jane being in Asgard, and you have the randomness of Darcy, the comedy, and it was kind of a complete mess. There was not like a clear story through, and like the best parts of the film was now just thrown away by one act of randomness of the film entirely. The villain of this film was weak. He was extremely weak. Before he had the ether, he was getting his ass handed to him. Before Frigga's death, she kicked his ass, basically. Not until Curse came and stopped Frigga and ultimately kills her, that it was like he was basically saved by his henchmen. And even when he had the ether, Thor was still getting some beatings in. So like, you're weak without the ether, and Thor can actually do some damage when you have the ether. So like, why are you here? Basically, why? And his motivations were just like a typical villain. I wanted to destroy the world. There was no depth with him, and I really feel sorry because of Christopher N. Eccleston. And he was one of the doctors for Doctor Who, and he's a really talented actor, and seeing him in this role was really wasted. Last thing I dislike about this film was Loki's fake death. You can see this a mile away. You actually see one of the soldiers, and you see one of this like kind of a silhouette of Loki's magic when you see the soldier, and when he comes back to Asgard, like you see, you killed him, but you didn't really kill him. So this is part of Marvel problem issues, where when they try to kill someone, they don't really kill him. And maybe because Loki is a really popular character at this time, killing him probably has some backlash, but why kill him in the first place? It's really pointless. Overall, this film is like lowly rated between in the MCU. Some people say it's the worst film in the MCU. I don't think it's that bad. It is watchable. It takes some things off from the first Thor film, which it learned. So you have more action in this Thor than the last one, but the story was not as cohesive, which the first Thor film was. So that's the issue for The Dark World. It has some great moments, but after those great moments, you see acts of randomness and comedy did not make sense. And also, Natalie Portman didn't give her 100%, so she was really dull throughout the film. And I don't know what happened, but chemistry with her and Chris Hemsworth was not there in the first Thor film, so it was really disappointing. And Alan Taylor, he was okay as in terms of directing. The film's not as cohesive as other MCU films. Overall, I give this film like a 6.9. It's not bad. It's not one of the worst MCU films. Like other MCU films, apart from Iron Man 2, this film is a solid watch. Now, when you see at the end of the end credits scene, you see Rostad and Steph giving the ether to the Collector. The reason why they're giving the ether to the Collector, because they already have the Tesseract, and if they feel that it'll be too dangerous to have 2 Infinity Stones. So the Collector takes the ether and puts it in his collection. And you also see him counting down how amount of stones left, telling us that we have about 3 Infinity Stones more for the MCU, and this will lead to Infinity War. Anyway guys, if you like this video, click like, subscribe, and share with friends. Leave a comment in the comment section. My goal at the end of this year to have 100 subscribers. So if you like this video, share with friends, subscribe, tell about it. If you want to see more videos, click on the links below on the description of the previous Marvel films. And so have a nice day. Peace.